Well, this is the Betfred Boxing Show. We are on the road again. We're in Liverpool this time because it's a big press conference. We had the public workout in Liverpool last night. We had a bonus Betfred show. Today, we're at the Hilton Hotel. It is Smith Fowler, so it's the main press conference. It's the undercard press conference as well, Anthony. So we're going to get all the kind of real feel for it now. All the little bits and pieces ahead of fight night. It's one of the final formalities. The fighters just can't wait to get in there, can they now? No,
this is, I think I was saying it last night, it was public workout and it comes round so quick after that, like press conference, weigh-in tomorrow. I'm sure a few tempers might flare in a bit. You can see outside the queuing up already. Yeah. It's, no, we'll see. I'm sure we'll get a few nice sound bites today. And members of the public will be in here as well. But of course, we are going to catch up with Eddie Hearn, of course, the main man, the chairman of Matchroom Sport, I think is his full title now. Yeah. We're going to get his thoughts on various things, I'm sure, as well as catching up with, well, we'll grab a few people in there. We'll get a few opinions, no doubt about that. And we're going to enjoy it as well, because it's a huge night of boxing in Liverpool. Smith Fowler and a really, really busy undercard. Well, the press conference is over. Of course, it's a huge night at the M&S Arena here in Liverpool, and it is Fowler Smith or Smith Fowler. But you've gone through.
Fowler. Yeah, no, Smith Fowler. You have to give the credit to the man who's achieved more in this fight. And actually, funnily enough, that's always one of the worst conversations to have when you're negotiating a fight. You know, because Fowler actually holds the belt going into this fight, which you know this fight's bigger than the WBA Intercontinental belt. But you know, when you make the fight and you know both guys probably not each other's biggest fans, and I say to Fowler, listen, Smith said he walks for second, he's in the home corner, you know, and it's Smith Fowler. And to be fair to Shane and Fowler, they took that on the chin. I mean, that's how it should be because of their achievements. But you know, there's sometimes little things like that can make a fight fall apart. So bragging rights, you know, just the future of their careers, everything on the line on Saturday, and I think it's just interesting talking to both guys up there. You know, Liam almost felt offended when I offered him this fight. You know, I know, but when I first offered him the fight, he sort of went, what? You know, he just lost to Kurbanov, right? And he should have won that fight, really. But I explained to him, mate, you lost, right? I said, so this is a massive fight. I said, everyone tunes in, we sell out the arena. You're number one in the country, Fowler's number two, we're both from Liverpool. Like, and he was like, oh, yeah, and then you sort of tell him how much money he can make from the fight, and then he starts to get his head round it. There is a danger, though, that you still, like, you know, when you get up for a massive fight and you want it so bad, there is part of Liam that almost thinks, like, this guy ain't on my level. So can you use that? Do you have the same kind of tenacity in the fight? He wants to do a job on him, basically, but Fowler, when we had those conversations with Fowler, it was kind of the same thing where I said, Shane, Ann, do you want to fight Liam Smith? And they're like, well, what happened to Ted Cheeseman and Sergio Garcia? I went, they're not available. I said, but you're 30. I said, you want a big fight. This is a massive fight for Liverpool. It's a lot of money. Do you want it? And they were like, yeah. Both guys, you know, so when we called your brother. Yeah, but it just makes sense, doesn't it? Now when you sit here with a couple of days to go and you've got a sold out. Yeah, exactly. So you think it's obvious. And it's a bit like, you know, sometimes you against John Murray. You know, that kind of fight. Remember the conversation me and you had? Yes. You know, where I said to you, mate, I'm telling you, and it was hard for Joe because he knew John Murray. And I just said to these guys, I said, mate, you're both from Manchester, right? You're both at that moment. That was the big night for you. That took you on to, you know, you against Flanagan. Probably when we look back and say, probably should have done that. But at the time it was, you know, it was us and Warren and Gallagher and Manchester United, City, and it was like sometimes those fights fall apart, but they're the ones we should be making, and I'm glad we got this on.
I was thinking, Ed, I think you said it yourself. You can look through that card. There's 3 or 4 fights that could be top of the bill. Would you say this is one of the best cards you've put on in the last few years?
So, top to bottom. I mean, I feel a bit bad, you know, when you speak to a manager and they say, what time's my kid on? Right? Look at Luke Willis against
it's a great fight.
Ryan Charlton, right? So I've got Bellew going to me, oh, what time's Willis on?
It's on at 6 o'clock.
What time's the doors open? 4:45. Well, this is his lifelong ambition. This is his moment. I said, I know, but where else would you put it? You know, Sam Jones said to me, Stakers against Sokolowski. What time am I on? 5:30. You know what I mean? Like, so, but then you go into the main card. You know, Metcalf against Conway's a brilliant fight, really good fight. Shannon Courtney's got a really tough fight against this girl. You know, she's well schooled. She's a good amateur as well. I think Cheeseman Williamson's just like, if it weren't Smith Fowler, I'd say that's the standout fight of the night. But I just think Ted is 26 years old. This is his 7th straight 12-round championship fight.
You forget how young Ted is. We were saying that
yesterday. It's like Sam Eggington, isn't it? You know,
but the same with Sam. You look at Sam. I thought he
yeah.
was finished after he lost to Liam Smith here. He's putting in some good performances now. I said earlier, it's a bit of a weird one, but it's like, you know, when you type in the destination on Waze or Google Maps, and it gives you 3 or 4 different options. One is the nice straight road that sort of gets you there, right? It takes a bit longer, and when you get there, you don't feel like you've made the effort to get there, but you got there. And the other one is the one through the dirt tracks and over the bumps, where you do a bit of damage to the chassis, but when you get there, you know, you got there and you battled through. Well, that's what Ted's done. Ted took that route. And I feel that with the development of British fighters now, you get to a stage where I think Ted, see the difference in these fights, Troy went the other route. Not his fault, and he's demolished people along the way. But I want to back the ones that went the other route sometimes, because when it gets tough, you know Ted Cheeseman, he has no problem. He's got no problem biting down on the gum shield and cracking on. And we're going to find out what Troy Williamson's made of, because Ted does have a great chin, but Williamson can crack, you know. But again, you go back to when you've had those wars and you went that route and you're Sam Eggington or you're Ted Cheeseman, at what point do you start taking shots and perhaps you don't have the ruggedness that you once did, you know? And I don't believe Ted's there yet. I think he's got plenty of miles on the clock, but I can't see anything in that fight other than an absolute war. And the same with Beefy and Fowler. I think the only thing in that fight is, does Fowler try and establish the jab? He's got really good reach and he's actually got a really good jab, and Beefy will struggle to get inside that. Once Beefy gets on his chest, Beefy's is an elite level fighter up close. You know what I mean? So I think that's where his strengths are going to be in that fight. But Shane's a good trainer. You know, they're gonna really have picked up a game plan here, and it might surprise you the way they might choose to fight. I hope they don't do that. I hope they come out and have a tear up. But I think, listen, after 3 or 4 rounds and with the atmosphere, it's only going one way.
That's my big thing. I think with Shane, like I think he's a brilliant trainer, and I think Shane said they think it's a fight of 2 halves. No, Fowler's going to be good enough to carry it through, but I think I'm with Eddie there. That atmosphere, once he gets caught up in it, sooner or later there he's going to hold his feet, and that's when it's going to be interesting to see how he handles it.
That if you're talking about it's a fight of 2 halves, for me, those first 7 or 8 rounds are probably, you know, they're a really good chance for Fowler to put a dent in Liam Smith. Right, he punches really, really hard. He can hurt him to the body, but are you worried about doing the 12? It was a bit like AJ the other day. You know, it was just like, yeah, it's a 12-round championship fight, so I didn't want him to get to 6 rounds and be behind, or even it be close. And I wanted Usyk to be marked up and hurt. If you let Beefy get 6, 7 rounds, fresh as a daisy, he comes on like a train. And he'll go, right now, this is my fight. He'll start pushing him back. He'll start using his experience. He'll start beating him up on the inside. So for me, actually, I think Fowler's got to be aggressive early, and he's got to put dents in him so that Liam can't come on like a train in the back end of the fight.
You did mention the heavyweights there, because it's inevitable that you have to talk about all this. It's still fresh in the memory what happened, but is there any kind of update as to where you are? I know I've heard you speak about Anthony and where he is and how he's desperate for revenge again now. I mean, again, is it more than likely it's going to be over here in March maybe, or Saudi again? Is there any Kiev? I think you're going to write off, aren't you?
Possibly. I mean, I'm not sure about the Kiev option, but we'll see. We'll chat to K2. I'd like to do it back in the UK. I mean, Bob Arum called me last night.
Did you see that clip, by the way?
Oh, hilarious. I mean, you know, with Mike Coppinger. I mean, I would never say to you boys, you know, get this prick out of here, whatever he said, you know. Security, get him out, you know. I'm going to do that to Crolla. Now Crolla's in the media, I'll start doing that too. But
particularly with his new hair.
Yeah.
Mate, is he the only one though? I think Kate Abdul got it. Kate Abdul got for it as well.
Yeah. But this is this whole new thing about, you see, PBC and those guys, they don't like they don't want a promoter up there. Yeah. They want a presenter. But the problem is, when you get 2 guys, right? And I'm not saying that I would jump in and restrain Tyson Fury, but at least I could sort of. You got to be careful up there. It's like Canelo Plant. You know, they do a press conference. They've got no one up there. It's just like those fights can be off like that. If those 2 went at it last night, with a cut, yeah, but those 2 went at it last night. Fight's off. There's no security up there.
No.
You know. So with that fight with AJ, obviously, really, really disappointed. Just sort of digesting what went wrong. I actually saw some clips of him in the change room, and it's like he's a big thinker, and actually.
Too much?
Yes, in that fight. Yeah. And I told him in that fight, don't overthink this fight. It's the worst thing you can do. But he did. And everyone told him, you can't box with Usyk. And he for some reason said, I can, and I'm going to do it. And
Stubborn, yeah.
Maybe, but he kind of, and I said to him, don't beat yourself up, because he's sort of like, well, you know, if I go back to the old style, I've kind of wasted. I said, you haven't wasted what you've been learning. It's added something different to your game. If you couldn't do that, you wouldn't have won the Ruiz rematch. You know, that style allowed you to win that fight. Yeah. It's just that style doesn't win you this fight. If the you that boxed Klitschko boxed Usyk, I believe you win the fight. Yeah. But you've got to back him up. You've got to beat him up. You know, don't worry about losing weight and coming in lean. Bulk up. Don't be slow and be quick on your feet, but you be strong and big. Yeah. And you know, he's really frustrated. Don't ever let the you know, the humbleness of AJ fool you in the respect. He feels like he has a responsibility to behave a certain way if he gets beat. But mate, he's absolutely furious. I mean, furious. You know, and everyone's had to say some home truths to him, and you know, it's hard doing that, especially when he looks at you and you literally feel like he's about to chin you. And that was one of the conversations, you know, when Aaron phoned us up and said, yeah, you know, just step aside of Usyk and let us fight for the undisputed and you can fight the winner. I didn't even get to the first line of what Bob said. Yeah. And he just went, are you having a laugh, mate? You know, all he wants to do is beat Usyk. And, you know, he avenged the Ruiz defeat, and he'll look to try and become a three-time heavyweight world champion.
Just a couple of quick ones, because I know you're always busy on these days, but inevitably again, after you've had United in Liverpool, you're going to stay up and you're going to watch another fight. Yeah. And I mean, what's the best case scenario now from your point of view with everything? Because, you know, could there be a fourth fight? I mean,
no,
anything in the contract
we saw from the WBC last night saying that the winner must fight Dillian Whyte, and unless they get the undisputed fight, which isn't going to happen. So Dillian's now in a great position. Tough fight against Otto Wallin, you know, makes that an even more dangerous fight. The best case scenario for me is that Tyson Fury wins, because I want Dillian Whyte to get his shot at Tyson Fury. He's a Brit. I think he's absolutely hilarious. I could watch him all day. I mean, so funny.
He loves you as well most of
the
time.
He does. I don't know. Yeah, sometimes he does and sometimes he doesn't, but it's okay. But I think he did well at the press conference yesterday, because Wilder made the mistake of saying, I wasn't going to talk today. Yeah. So what Fury done was he made him talk, and he made him lose a lot of energy as well. I think some people don't realise how much energy that takes out of you. He's had a full-blown row with Fury for half an hour on the stage, using emotion, you know, and maybe when he talks about how drained he felt in that second fight, it weren't the costume. Maybe Fury just got in his head and almost beat him up before they got in the ring. So Fury's good at that, and he's one of a kind in that respect. And I hope he wins. I think he wins. I think he wins every round, and I think he'll box really cautiously. I think he'll box a little bit like he did against Klitschko. Maybe he might switch that up if it's, you know, if he's getting tagged, then he might have to stand and fight. But I think in his head he's thinking, get it out of the way. You know, don't take any chances. Get this out of the way and then move on. Put a line for it.
Last one for me, Lopez Cambosos. Yeah. So it's happening. Yeah. It's happening. Before that, you've got Garcia over there. So now will that be the second show over in America? Yeah. Well, we've got Mikey Garcia coming up next week. Then we've got Demetrius Andrade World Championship triple header. Then we've got Devin Haney fight, which we've got to schedule still. And then we've got Lopez against Cambosos as well, and Golden Boy have Ryan Garcia. So you've got three of the big four on the zone. Yeah, it's really good. And I'm pleased to get Lopez Cambosos, although I had an argument with his dad last night, because Devin Haney is the WBC World Champion, like it or not. And I put out that can't wait to promote this unified World Championship. And his old man just WhatsApped me and said, it's undisputed, don't you forget it. I said, no, mate, it's not. You have to beat Devin Haney for that. But that's a good fight. And that's you know, you put Lopez as a big favourite in that fight, but look at the inactivity. Like it'll be a year since he beat Lomachenko. Huge lightweight. Yeah. And frustrated, stop-start camp. Yeah, and Cambosos is coming to win, but looking forward to getting in the middle of those two, because they've already had a little go, and it's a great fight. Well, let you crack on, Eddie. Cheers. This place closes about 11 o'clock tonight. I'll be here still doing interviews. Thanks very much. Well, here in Liverpool, press conference over. It is Smith Fowler, of course, on Saturday night at the M&S Arena, a fella that knows all about the big fight nights in Liverpool and beyond. Callum, brother of Liam, you've had your own big night, and that horrendous knockout of Castillo, from your point of view, incredible performance against a real tough operator. But what was going through your head when you saw him go down like that? Yeah, it wasn't nice. I think as a fighter, you always fear the worst, and I think you go from up there realising the fight's over to just worry really that the result's nothing to do with it. Then it's boxing's a tough enough sport as it is, and every now and again you get a bad one, and it wasn't nice. I felt like I was in the ring for like an hour or so, but thankfully he's okay, and
I can push on and move forward. But boxing's a sport for me. It always has been. I've never been one to badmouth or want to inflict any more damage than necessary. It's always been a sport, and it still is.
Yeah. And Anthony's had a list of questions for you. You've been very excited about interviewing Callum, haven't you? Just to
Stage
get
fright.
to know him. Just to get to know him a little
yeah.
bit. Because,
That's
Anyway.
Yeah.
You do look fantastic at the new weight,
Yeah.
clearly, and you've been saying it for a long time anyway. That, and I know you did it all right. You did super middle all right, but it was only a matter of time.
The thing that I noticed about Callum, like before the knockout punch, you hurt him downstairs, didn't you? And I just Callum looked powerful again. He looked powerful again. I know people say, might say, Canelo, it's very different, but it had took its toll. It was obvious to see Callum look powerful again from the off, and that was, listen. You see now the size of him, you think he could easily step up again, but I know you make it right, yeah.
Yeah, no, I felt good, and it's hard to speak about weight without thinking I'm making excuses up. Look, Canelo Alvarez beat me because he was a better fighter than me, and no, there's no excuses there. I just feel the version of me wasn't the version who won my world title or raced through the ranks kind of thing. And I said the minute after the Canelo fight, back in the change rooms that I was there, I just felt like I lost me explosiveness, me power, and me. I remember early on in my career when I got in the ring, I used to feel huge and explosive, and I used to think the minute I land, I know it has an effect, and I kind of felt like that the weekend. I felt really good, I felt strong, and I think from being in there, I felt, as Anthony said, I felt every shot had a bit behind it, and I think if anything, I got a little bit excited and started throwing a little bit more than necessary, and as a buddy said at the time, just take your time, don't be headhunting just yet kind of thing, but I landed a very good shot, and I think the question marks over me before that fight was how I was going to be at 175. Will he carry his power up? And I think I ticked those boxes, and I'm excited for the future and what's next.
It'd be interesting in that division though as well, isn't it? Now when you're above domestic level, I suppose. Anyway, you don't want to be where you've been. Yeah. You want to keep going up. Has it been like a surprise to you though? Because you've said a while ago, I remember you saying that you don't live for boxing. You can walk away from boxing. You're not obsessive about it. But as stepping up now and at your age, are you feeling that there is that final chapter?
Yeah, it's weird. Like it's people say, he doesn't live for boxing. Like, I'm very dedicated to boxing. I do everything correct, and I do love boxing. I've just always had I think where I'm the youngest of four brothers, I've seen there's times of boxing where it's not a good sport, and at the lower levels, some of the fights you see, and then you realise what they're getting paid for it. You just think it is very tough, and ever since turning pro, I just had the mentality I'm going to get in, achieve what I want, and get out, and I'd like to retire early rather than late, and I've always had that mindset, and I still stick by that, and it's not that I don't enjoy it, it's just I want to be smart, I want to retire and be. I remember when Anthony retired, I remember sitting there thinking he's in a very good position, as in he's probably one of very few fighters who can be content and satisfied and happy that they achieved what they wanted to, probably achieved more than he expected, and I don't think he'll ever, he's probably coming on, but I don't think he's ever got them regrets or doubts as in, I wondered if I could have done this or could have done this, whereas I think if I would have retired after the Canelo loss, which a lot of people would expect me to do, a couple of years down the line I'd have kicked myself and think, you know what, you've always said you're big enough and good enough to be a 2-8 world champion, why didn't you give it a go? So I know I've got stuff I need to achieve before I hang them up. I know I'm good enough to be a 2-8 world champion, and that is my reason why, that is my motivation, and you've got to want to do this sport, otherwise there's pointless doing it. And believe me, I have got those goals, and I'm very, very confident I can achieve them. And when I do retire, I do believe I'll be a happy, content person, and I won't miss boxing. I'll always be around boxing, but I'll know I'll have fully achieved what I was capable of.
Cal, do you think you'll be out before Christmas, or just wait?
I don't know. I'm going to speak to him this week and see what he says. But no, listen, I'd like to, if possible. I don't know what shows are available or whatnot, whether he'd put me on one or not. But I've been sitting here for a long time. I was laughing with my brothers yesterday, as in I always say I want to be active, and my career, you'd think I've fighting went missing and all that. I'm always in the gym. I'm not in. I think in my first year as a pro, I had hand operations, and other than that, I've never had an injury, apart from obviously the arm. But for some reason, I just haven't really been as active. And I think I worked out in my first 4 years as a professional, I had 22 fights, and then in my last 5, I think I've had like 7 or something. And it's madness. And I know that the stakes are higher and the bigger fights and whatnot, but I haven't been as active, and I always felt I was at my best when I was active. I think every fighter is. I'd like to keep it that way, but no, I've got a good team, and hopefully they can get me out pretty soon, and we can build on last week's performance.
Just both opinions, obviously, on the main event that we're here for, and of course you both know Liam very well. How do you kind of judge his demeanour? Because Eddie's spoken about it, and there was a little bit of needle from Joe McNally, I suppose, about how the fight came about, and again, it's just interesting, really. Is he mentally, do you think, absolutely in the right place for it? Because he has been at such a higher level and a world champ, and maybe wanted that world title fight again.
Yeah and no. I think what they were getting at is, I think if you would have announced Anthony Fowler v Cheeseman, you'd probably sit back and say that's a good fight to pick him. But then if you were to announce Liam v Cheeseman, you'd think, what does Liam gain out of that? Cheeseman's British champion. Yeah. Liam was British champion 7 years ago, I think. But I think the fact that they're both from Liverpool, I think the belt and it's got nothing to do with it. And I think in terms of Liam, that is his motivation. He can't lose to a man from his own city, regardless of what level or what titles on the line. I think that is his motivation. I don't think it's anything other than that. He's in a very good place. He's had a really, really good camp. He's trained very well, and I think just bragging rights and pride are what's got him through this camp and what's at stake. He loses 25, and any ambitions of becoming a two-time world champion disappear. And I know, I'm very close to him as a brother, so I know he has got them goals. He wants to fight your Tim Tszyu and your champions and them type of fights. He can kiss all them goodbye if he loses this weekend. So it's a must-win fight for him, and his camp showed that. He's in a very good place physically and mentally, and hopefully the performance replicates that.
Yeah, no, listen, Liam, he's a very straight talker. He's a very straight talker, and I think he's just sort of being honest. He knows that. He's like, it's not that. He believes he's a level above Anthony, and not in an arrogant way. He's just like, nah, if I can't be beating him, I can't do those goals. And I think that's what, I think it can't be mistaken. It's not that Liam's, because one thing Liam's not is arrogant, but it's not that he's overlooking Fowler, but he's just being honest. He's in like, I'm here to win another world title. If I can't beat Anthony Fowler on Saturday night, I'm going to win another world title at light middle. And I think it's that simple, really. I think that's it, and I think he just wanted to get the point across again, and I think he's keen on letting Fowler know that as well. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Just a couple of quick predictions before you let you go. Okay. So, with your own brother, I know you expect his arm to be raised. How does he do it?
I think he gets to him late. Being totally honest with you, I think it's a really good fight early on. I think Fowler, his amateur pedigree,
which you know all about.
You've got to respect that. He's a Commonwealth Games gold medalist. He's an Olympian. He can fight. I don't believe he's delivered as a professional for what people expected of him, but there's no reason why he can't. We've got to expect the best version of Anthony Fowler, but Anthony will tell you, your first 12 rounders, it's tough. Questions start getting asked when you're in round 8, 9, 10, and it starts getting hard, and especially with, look, I've sparred Liam, and he makes you throw when you don't want to throw, and when you want to have your breathers, he's on you again, and he's very intelligent with how he does it, and he makes you fight at a pace you don't really want to fight at. And I just believe it's the last person you want to fight when you've never been there before and questions are getting asked. And I think the second half of the fight, Liam comes on strong, and I think he's a very good championship fighter, a very good 12-round fighter, and I think that'll be the difference.
And a final one, you're one of the big men now, you're getting bigger,
yeah.
But the big men over the pond, how's that go?
I think any heavyweight fighter, it's always interesting. I think the first fight showed Deontay Wilder can finish the fight at any point. I think the second fight was so one-sided, it's hard to look past Fury again. I just think mentally, how does Wilder come back from a beating? Like, it wasn't just a one-punch knockout. He bullied him for the full. He bullied him for the full fight, and I think as long as Fury's not complacent, I think he's still, as long as he respects Wilder's power and knows that he can still hurt him at any point in the fight, and he stays switched on, I think we'll see a repeat of the second fight.
You got anything else? Anything you need to know about Callum?
Mate, anything I need to know about him? Oh, just, how's life, how the improvement's going and stuff like that. And other than that, we're all good, mate. No, just hopefully he gets out, like I say, when Callum's active. But for me, just as a mate, like, he looked powerful again. And I know, like I say, I think he's a good first opponent at the weight, but there's he won't be hanging around too long before fighting for world titles, but he looks very dangerous again.
Get in there with Bivol next, that'd be good.
Yeah, that's the plan. That's what I want. I don't know if I was offered it next. I think, I said before, my ability, I always had that. I think to be a world champion at 168, I've got the ability to be a world champion at 175. I think just the question mark was, have I got the size and power to do it at the weight above? And I think that we can tick those boxes. So I'll take a world title fight next if I get it or not. I'll beat whoever I have to get it, and you know, I'm in a good place. I feel I'm still improving all the time, and I'm excited to get back in camp and pick it up and move forward. And you know, I do believe I will win a world title, and I'll be a 2-time world champion.
That's all Eddie's got to do. Bivol next. That'd be nice. Well, we are still in Liverpool. The press conference is all over, of course. Eddie Hearn is still doing interviews, as he tends to do as well. Always gets a lot of interest, sticks it out. But of course, has anything changed from your point of view in terms of Smith, Fowler, Anthony? You've heard so many opinions now, Callum and everybody.
It's not. Both lads look really well. I see the fight going very similar to how Callum sees it going. Sort of Liam getting him sort of between 8 to 10. I do believe Fowler will have success. I think he'll have a great game plan, but I just believe Callum made the point. Liam makes you work so much harder than you want to, and I think that will come into play. But it's a fight I can't wait for.
Eddie Hearn, in great form, was talking about this fight, but he was talking about other things, as he always does. But the heavyweight situation was interesting in terms of Joshua, obviously, which led into Tyson Fury Wilder 3, as it has to. Your opinion on that one? Anything changed in your head on that fight?
No, I think it's hard to look past a Tyson Fury win and winning well just because of how dominant it was in the second fight. But I think there's no secret. Tyson's had a lot of things going on in his personal life with the birth of his daughter. Thankfully, who's great now. But that's not ideal, building to a camp. But then speaking to his cousin Jose Burton yesterday, this is a much better Tyson in a much better place than the one who fought Wilder the first time. Yeah. So I just can't see past the Tyson Fury win. But boxing, one punch can change it all. Certainly heavyweight boxing, and certainly with the power that Deontay Wilder carries. But yeah, Tyson Fury inside distance again.
Of course, you're working the corner with Rhiannon and Dixon on Saturday night, so you're in Liverpool now, which kind of alters your week normally, because normally we talk about your week and what you're watching on telly and blah blah blah. So it's not quite the same now, is it? We
do. I got me belly full last night. I was mixing shoulders with the stars. Yeah. You know. Housewives of Cheshire last week. Yeah. Leanne, the girl of training, Leanne Brown, she put on a boxing masterclass. The Towie lad was in there.
Have you been angling for some kind of deal for yourself, by the way? Have you tried to get involved in any of these TV shows?
I've not. Secretly, I would love to, but I've not.
There you are. He wants a place in one of these. He wants a part, right? As ever, Anthony, been a pleasure. So that's it. All the action in Liverpool at the M&S Arena, the Smith Fowler show, and of course the big boys over the pond. It's Fury Wilder 3. We'll bring you all the reaction to all of that next week on the Betfred Boxing Show.